Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community. The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It with your host, B.J. Williams.
We have a great show for you today, including an interview with Byron Price about his latest, most beautiful book. But first, Susie Beasley is going to tell Doug Benton about a book she's just recently read.
Hi, Susie, you with me again here?
Yes, I have.
Brought another book to talk about with an intriguing title.
Intriguing title indeed.
If you want to walk on water, you've got to get out of the boat.
That's
it's by
right.
John Ortberg. Tell us about it. What is it?
Well, this is a book that it is marketed as a Christian living. However, individuals or persons that just was interested in other ideas of approaching and problem solving and dealing with day-to-day life, especially now with so many things that are uncertain. Ortberg has written some other books, but this one I picked up and I thought, wow, well, people always saying if you walk on water, well, you have to actually get out of the boat. You have to, plant yourself on terra firma and say, hey, if I have something I need to deal with, how do I go about dealing with that? This book kind of gives you a path to do that. Mm-hmm. It kind of brings you to a thinking process, a process of problem solving, facing fear, even though as adults we tend to say, I'm not scared, I'm not this, but there are fears and doubts that we don't want to admit that we have. And this kind of sets you on a course of problem solving. And I think that that's one reason why I was drawn to it, because it kind of like, well, at the end of the day, if you want to read something that after looking at the news or getting in 5 o'clock traffic, this kind of puts things in perspective and centers you.
Yeah, it's real easy to say you're not worried about things in your life or in your work at 6 o'clock in the evening, but at 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes the story's a little different.
It can keep you up at night. Yeah. It can keep you up at night, and I think that people tend to try to gravitate toward a quick fix. Well, there are really no quick fixes because it's a continuum. Whether we're in a different station in life as far as financially, whether we're in a different station in life as far as our age or anything like that, if we're a parent, we all have to come to the decision-making process of getting on with things. We can't just let them kind of bottle up and all that. This helps you to kind of clear the field. Yeah. Like if you're bowling about it, you're going to have to go ahead and clear those pins out. They can't just stay in the little hopper all the time. Yeah. But Ortberg, he has put together a really worthwhile text. It's easy to read. It is not trite. It is not difficult. And I think that people will probably go to it and enjoy it.
Okay, once again, the title is If You Want to Walk on Water, You've Got to Get Out of the Boat.
By John.
And it's by John Ortberg. Susie, thanks a lot for bringing it in. I think it'll be interesting to a lot of our readers.
Okay,
thanks, folks.
Hi, I'm Donna Morris, Executive Director of your Metropolitan Library System. Experts tell us it's never too early to begin reading to a child. If you spend just 20 minutes a day reading to a child, you're not only building a bond that lasts a lifetime, but you're helping that child to prepare to learn how to read. Visit us at the Metropolitan Library System and let us help you select just the right books for you and your family. And be sure and visit our website at www.metrolibrary.org.
I'm here now with Doug Benton, and Doug, I've got another great book that I'm sure you're going to rush right out and read.
Oh yeah, what is it?
Well, it's The Six Wives of Henry VIII.
Henry VIII, all right.
Okay. David Starkey, who wrote the best-selling book about Elizabeth, has now looked at Elizabeth's mother and all of her stepmothers as well. She had quite a few, poor child. Starkey is the By Fellow of Fitzwilliam College, Cambridge, and he's written a number of books and won awards and that sort of thing. I think the reason that he's an award-winning and very popular historian is that he knows how to tell a riveting story. He's very good at getting the correct information, doing research and that sort of thing, but he can tell a story. And I'm going to read just the introduction, which will tell you why you should be interested in The Six Wives of Henry VIII.
Okay.
The Six Wives of Henry VIII is one of the world's great stories. Indeed, it contains a whole world of literature within itself. It is more far-fetched than any soap opera, as sexy and violent as any tabloid, and darker and more disturbing than the legend of Bluebeard. It is both a great love story and a supreme political thriller. It also has an incomparable cast of characters, with a male lead who begins as Prince Charming and ends as a bloated monster with a face like a Humpty Dumpty of nightmare. While among the women, at least as conventionally told, there is almost the full range of female stereotypes: the saint, the schemer, the doormat, the dim fat girl, the sexy teenager, and the blue stocking. Finally, it evokes, like the best historical novels, the peculiarities of the behavior and mindset of another age, the quirks of 16th century etiquette and lovemaking, the intricacies and passions of religious faith and practice, the finer points of heraldry, genealogy, and precedence, the gleaming stiffness of cloth of gold and the unclean roughness of the hair shirt. But it also touches the timeless universals of love and honor and betrayal and death. What is strangest of all? It's true. And being true, it is supremely important. For the reign of Henry VIII is a turning point in English history second only to the Norman Conquest. When he came to the throne, Henry was the pious prince who ruled in England at the heart of Catholic Europe. When he died, he was the great schismatic who had created a national church and an insular politics that shaped the development of England for the next half a millennium. Once historians, who imagined that England was somehow naturally Protestant, thought there were profound social and religious reasons for the change. It is now clear that there were none. Instead, it came about only because Henry loved Anne Boleyn and could get her no other way. And he stuck to what he had done, partly because it tickled his vanity, but also because no succeeding wife was able to persuade him out of it. And that's kind of the theme of the book, is that these women were more than just a sidelight, that they were players. The saint, Catherine of Aragon, was not quite so saintly. That apparently Mr. Starkey has caught her out in several lies, and so on and so forth. He also says that Jane Seymour was very ambitious and had real plans. Unfortunately, death in childbirth got in her way. So highly entertaining, and
Sounds like it.
yeah, great. If you like sex and violence, it's a good read. Okay. Coming up next, we have Kids Corner. Heidi Johnson will tell Kelly Rhea about a couple of books for our very youngest readers. Heidi, you brought some books for our very youngest readers. Actually read 2 books, and this first one is really fun.
Yes, it is. It's a lot of activity on each page. It's the jumbo book of shapes, and whereas it tells you, about the squares and about the circles and the triangles, it also gives you a lot of things on each page to do. There are little flaps that will lift up, and there are little pull tabs that make something move on the page. And on the very last page, there is Penelope Pig and presenting a cookie sheet with all the different shapes that we were talking about.
and very pretty shapes, because they're obviously decorated cookies, but this is a little bit of a surprise for the kids.
When the baker pops out and presents you these cookies.
Right.
And there's a little oven that you can look in, and all the little pop-ups where you can look underneath and see what's hidden underneath the flap. So a small child will have a lot of fun with that book. There's also touch and feel pages where you can feel like something really soft and something a little bit rough textured, and some shiny things. And so it's a really fun book for the real small ones.
But something that the parents should supervise, because pop-up books are a bit fragile. They can be torn.
And since there are some flaps that can be torn off, and who knows what the kid might do with them, better with adult supervision. You're right. Now the next one is a little bit for a little bit older children. That's probably about 3rd or 4th grade. But this book will make for hours of searching fun. If you like to puzzle and find things hidden in pictures, this will be the book for you.
Well, in fact, you were telling me that you had gotten entrapped by this
Yes,
book.
and I was spending way too much time looking for all of these things, which are very tricky. It's not an easy book to find all the little things that they tell you in the list you should be looking for. So sometimes they're very creative where they hide it, and in unexpected places, and sometimes it doesn't look quite the way you expect it. But for those long winter months, it'll be a wonderful book to spend time with.
Or a book that when mom needs a little bit of quiet time, you might suggest, why
Yes.
don't you go study one of the pages here?
Exactly, and they're all different subjects also, so everybody should find something that appeals to their particular taste. They're about space cadets and about robots and about island life, things you find at the beach. So a lot of different things.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Heidi.
You're welcome.
You can find these books at your library and your favorite bookstore. Well, as you may have noticed, that was not Kelly Rhea talking to Heidi Johnson. That was me a couple of weeks ago. Doug Benton is back again, and I think he has a book he wants to tell us
Yeah,
about.
that was you?
That was me.
I thought that was Nicole Kidman.
Oh, bless you, Doug.
Yeah, okay. Do I still have to do this segment?
Yes,
I
you
still
do.
do. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking when you were talking a few minutes ago about Henry VIII and the Six Wives, that at, I guess, the lowest level, so much of history is true crime.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe that's
Right,
why
so.
the genre of true crime writing is so popular right now. People don't know their history very much, but they do know the criminal history of the
they
last
kn-
100 years.
They know sex and violence when they see it.
When they see it, yes, but they don't see it often enough.
Right.
Well, for people who want to see a little bit more of it, Ann Rule has a new book out, a new paperback. It's called Kiss Me, Kill Me. It's a terrible title. I really don't like it. For several years, she has been doing a series of short, well, the books themselves are as long as their usual, but each case that she talks about is done at shorter length. So the 9 or 10 cases that are involved in this book, each is a chapter, and each is shorter than one of her full-length things. When she first began doing true crime writing, she was the Northwest correspondent for a series of True Detective magazines. And so she covered the cases in her area and wrote them up. And she wrote under the name Andy Stack, I guess. If you were writing for True Detective, you had to be a man at that time anyway. And so she's gone back over the years and taken several of these cases that she wrote up and fleshed them out a little bit and looked at what happened in the meantime, and have been publishing them in this series. And this is the 9th volume of her true cases. One of the things I like about Ann Rule, that I like a lot about her, is she is, I think, genuinely compassionate on the people towards the people that she writes about here, the victims. She's not just, well, in some cases even the perpetrators, but not very often, because she tends to gravitate towards some really evil and mean characters, men and women, pulling off these crimes. But as I say, I think she is genuinely compassionate towards the victims, especially in this volume, because all the cases involve crimes that took place in the Seattle area. That's where she lives. She was a policewoman on the Seattle Police Force. She still lives out there. And so despite the fact that she travels all over the country attending trials and doing research, these stories are all involved with cases that took place in the Seattle area. So in some cases, she knows the people involved, family members, pretty well. And in one of the cases, it's fascinating because it took 30 years to figure out who had committed this crime. And it turned out to be had committed several crimes in the meantime. Anyway, the book is called Kiss Me, Kill Me. It's Ann Rule's latest book. And if you like true crime, this is a real quick and interesting read.
Great. Thanks, Doug. Coming up next, we've got M.J. Vandevenner of the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. She'll be talking with Charles Schroeder, who is the executive director of the Cowboy Hall, about a book he has recently read and enjoyed very much.
Chuck, so nice to have you back on Read About It.
Thank you, MJ. Delighted to be here.
You're reading a biography of Senator Mansfield, and I'm wondering if this was prompted by your recent trip to Montana with the Preta West Society.
Well, it was. I've been a longtime fan of Senator Mike Mansfield, now deceased, but while we were in Helena, we had the opportunity to see his figure in bronze, and of course that area is rich with his personal history, and it is where I found this book.
Oh, well, great. Well, he really didn't want a biography written about him.
No, he didn't. In fact, one of Senator Mansfield's most famous quotes was, "When I'm gone, I want to be forgotten." And he had spurned the entreaties of many biographers who wanted to write his life story, and finally, in the last 3 years of his life, he passed away at age 98, he submitted at least to a series of 32 interviews by Don Oberdorfer, who was a writer for the Washington Post, now a distinguished professor, an adjunct professor, I should say, at Johns Hopkins. But this book is one that I would recommend to any student of politics and political history as an intellectual palate cleanser in today's world where politicians are so inclined to be self-serving and bitterly partisan. Mike Mansfield was anything but through his 34 years in the Congress, including a record 16 years as Senate Majority Leader under presidents beginning with Kennedy and ending with Ford. And he just had a remarkable career.
And great humility.
And great humility. He was a fellow that, after his time in the Congress, spent 12 years as ambassador to Japan, first appointed by President Carter, later reappointed by President Reagan, and for all the pomp and circumstance that typically surrounds ambassadors in any part of the world, Mansfield became probably one of the most beloved diplomats anywhere on the planet during a very difficult time of transition in our relations with Japan. But did so behaving like a mild-mannered college professor from the University of Montana. And
it's also a great
fellow.
love story, and we can perhaps talk about that in another segment. But this is definitely a book that's well worth reading.
A great love story between Mike and Maureen, who Maureen brought him from being an 8th grade educated copper miner to this great spot on the world stage.
Well, thank you so much for sharing the book with us today.
Thank you. Delighted.
Thanks, MJ and Charles. Coming up next is a talk that I had a couple of weeks ago with Byron Price about his new book, Fine Art of the West. Now, Byron is currently director of the Russell Center at OU. He has been executive director of the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum and was also director of the Cody Museum in Wyoming. I think he came back down here because it was so cold in Wyoming. Anyway, he has written a number of books, and I think you will enjoy very much Fine Art of the West. Fine Art of the West, Byron. It looks like A, it was a labor of love, and B, you had a really great time doing it.
Well, I did, and I've spent most of my life, it seems, working on this book in one form or another. The research for it began a long time ago, and my interest in it began even as a child. My father, for many years, was a cowboy, and then he got in the Western wear and saddlery business and was there for about 50 years, and I saw a lot of wonderful and aesthetic gear, cowboy gear and clothing and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think people in Oklahoma would accept that fine art and West would go together, but do you find other places appreciate really the art that goes into saddlery and clothing?
Well, this is really the first book that deals with this kind of gear as art. It was for so often just viewed as a utilitarian sort of tool, if you will, but the cowboys all knew that they bought the best equipment and the most aesthetically pleasing equipment that they could from the get-go.
Well, and you talk about each kind of equipment, give a little bit of the history, and you mentioned, I remember particularly with saddles, that's the decorating motifs and the, I guess you would say the art of the leather working actually come from Northern Africa.
Well, that's true. Much of the gear came through Mexico, and then came to Mexico through Spain, and from Spain through North Africa, and you can trace it all the way back to the ancient Scythians on the plains of Eastern Europe. The first horse culture to actually have saddlery, and then the Turks creating the first saddle with a wooden frame, and then the various kinds of decoration, which ranged anywhere from bone to ivory to silver and gold, and certainly silver on saddles is a contemporary leftover from that time long ago. It's been incorporated for many generations.
Now, you talked also about the use of flowers, which I can remember thinking at the time, cowboys and flowers.
Yeah, I found that so ironic in a way, yet the Rose of Castile, one of those old Spanish icons carved into saddle skirts for hundreds of years. And then endless variations and the addition of various species of flowers from various regions. The California poppy is another one of the motifs that was very popular, and daisies and all kinds of floral work. There's also, and you're showing a picture of incorporation of floral work with what's called a tableau style of leather carving, in which an actual image or picture, in that case cowboy on a bucking horse, was the motif. Those kinds of changes were brought on in part because of the popularity of recreational horsemanship, rodeo, parades, and things of that nature that went way beyond the cowboy populace.
Well, I have noticed that you've done incredible in-depth research on that. Now, did you enjoy the research? Was that fun?
The research was fun because I got to go to California, and I got to spend some time in some really great collections. There are several great Western gear collections. The National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum right here in Oklahoma City has one of the very fine collections, as does the Buffalo Bill Historical Center in Cody, Wyoming, and the Autry National Center, the Museum of the American West in Los Angeles. All have premier collections of Western gear and the finest aesthetic examples. Well,
I was impressed with the breadth of this book, because you don't just talk about saddles.
Of course. There's chapters on artistry in hide and hair, featuring the great rawhide braiders and horsehair spinners who took natural materials that you could find in nature and made very durable and utilitarian, yet very artistic kinds of gear.
And then you got into what people put on their own bodies.
Absolutely. Boots, hats have their own aesthetic realm to them. It's interesting that you're showing the tall top boots with the stitch pattern. The stitching not only was for decoration, but also helped the leather stay stiff so that it didn't fall down around your ankles. So it had a practical as well as an aesthetic
purpose.
Use.
Yeah. Well, all of these things, and I think you show that very well, start out with a very practical use. There's a reason that we do it this way, and then pretty soon it becomes a very decorative aspect of whether it's a saddle or the boots or the leather cuffs that they wore, or even the bridles and lariats. They don't have to be woven with such beautiful patterns and so on.
Absolutely. Bits and spurs are another example. Just taken. You can put any kind of metal on your feet or in your horse's mouth that works, but cowboys always enjoyed, especially in the manner of spurs, having a little extra flash and silver and so forth. There are beautiful patterns, including shank shaped like the legs of
A dance hall girl.
Dance hall girls, the famous gal leg pattern, for example.
I was looking for one of those in here, but I haven't found one. But again, the spurs encompass a lot of the different things that you're talking about. There's silver work and leather work as well as metal casting.
Absolutely, and there are a lot of regional variations. There's the California patterns in style of spur, and there's a specific sort of southwestern style that's favored in Texas and Oklahoma. Some of the very best spur makers of all time were located right here in Oklahoma.
Oh, really?
J.R. McChesney at Paul's Valley had a national reputation and was one of the premier producers of Western spurs in the early 20th century.
In fact, I understand that not today, but in the late 1800s, you could actually tell where a cowboy was from if you saw what he was wearing and what kind of saddle he had on his horse.
That's true, because the look of your gear sort of gave you away, and if you came in from somewhere else, you were sort of measured by the kind of gear that you had was a clue to whether or not you were a very good cowboy. Over time, with the advent of trade catalogs and a lot more mobility among the cowboy population, some of these regional variations have declined a little bit, and it's more homogeneous now, but still, cowboys still have an aesthetic sense.
Right, and a fine one too, as I think you've shown in this book, and I want to thank you very much, Byron, for being with us.
BJ, thank you very much.
I know it is wet, and the sun is not sunny.
Hi, my name is Jose Jimenez of your Metropolitan Library Commission. You know, most experts tell us that if you just spend 20 minutes a day reading to your child, you're not only building a bond that lasts a lifetime, but you're also preparing that child to learn how to read. Check with the experts at your Metropolitan Library for suggestions on just the right books for you and your family. And visit us at our website at www.metrolibrary.org.
Well, I'm back with Doug Benton, and it's Almanac time, and I'm willing to bet money, actual money, that you have some dates for us.
I actually do. This week period, we've got a lot of birthdays, literary birthdays. January 12th, 1876 was the birthday of Jack London, who was actually born John Griffith Cheney. London was his stepfather, and he took that name and then changed John to Jack because he was kind of a blue-collar kind of guy. January 13th is the birthday of Horatio Alger.
Oh,
now,
goody.
I can remember back in the 70s, there was a little bit of a revival of interest in Alger, and I bought one of the books, and I still haven't read it. I guess I'm floating around those rags to riches things. I don't believe in that. January 14th is the birthday, 1896, of John Dos Passos, another very socialist, blue-collar kind of guy. And, well, we're running out of time, so I'll pass it back over to you.
Well, great, and I just want to remind you that you can find out about all of these guys at the library. Check us out at www.metrolibrary.org. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you again next time.